After a bounce back in Beaumont, it's home sweet home for Colonel football. Good to be with you on the Coach Tim Rebowe Show presented by Smoothie King. My name is Bryant Johnson, and the Colonels are now 3-2 on the season. They're 2-1 in Southland Conference play following a dominating 41-14 win against Lamar. Coach Rebowe, momentum isn't everything in football, but it's sure nice when you can score on the first drive of the game and hold your lead for all four quarters.
Yeah, it was good for us to get back on the field last week after we had that tough loss the week before. The guys were anxious to prepare and get back and show that really wasn't us out there. And I was proud of the week of practice we had and the effort that we had in the game. But anytime you can go down and get points, we scored the quick touchdown, had the extra point block. We had to fix that. Our kicking game was not say top performance last Saturday night, but offensively and defensively, I thought we were hitting and we were in control of the game the whole way.
A lot of highlights in this one, and it did start on the first drive of the night. Nichols gets going, and the rushing performance by a true sophomore in Jeremy Round's first career start. He goes over 100 yards.
Boy, he was just, he got the start over Kyron. Kyron was banged up a little bit. We limited him in practice during the week, so he really came on strong, rushing over 100 yards. I was happy for him. That you saw Booker getting a big catch, getting his touchdown.
Christian Booker scores his first touchdown of the season. That makes it 6-0. You only needed 7 receivers to catch footballs in this game. 12 completions in the game, but it was a tone setter, great defensive stand, and then a punt that lands at the 1-yard line. Lamar couldn't recover, and their offense really playing from behind all night.
Good job by Jonathan Lewis on the punt, covering it. Look, field position is everything. When you can have them backed up and you can change the field like that. Offense, getting some fourth downs, conversions. Here we are going up top to another freshman right here, and Dejon Dixon. And then I know he didn't get in, and next thing you know, Kyron gets to walk into the end zone with his touchdown right here.
Kyron Irvin with a multi-touchdown performance. His 2 scores now put him second in the conference in total touchdowns. Fourth down conversions, you're 4 for 4 on fourth downs. That sets up the score, and then really nail in the coffin for the Lamar offense. Interception return for a touchdown for Alan Pittman.
Yeah, good pressure up front. We got him out of the pocket. We had guys hanging all over him all night, and Alan just happened to be Johnny on the spot.
It happened because of the pressure from Terrell Oncolade and Sully Lesh. 54-yard scores, your second interception return for a touchdown this season by a defensive player. When you look at the box score in this game and you see so many notable contributors, that's Colonel football in 2017.
Yeah, we spreading it out. Different running backs, different receivers catching balls, defensively guys making the plays. But I think the one thing that's been constant for us is the play up front. Defensively, our D-line has done a great job, and we rolling those guys in and out of there. We got a bunch of them who could play. We have a lot of depth. We were concerned about the quarterback at Lamar. He had done a good job, the last couple of weeks, and we were concerned him. But when we got him out of the pocket, he was not as effective, and he ended up throwing us to 6 points. And you talk about defensively, we had another one later on. Darryl Adams had a shot in the second half. I'm sure we'll get to that. And then setting the offense up with a score. So defense likes getting in the mix. That's big goals. We got to win that turnover battle, and we did that the other night.
You're 5 games into the season, and your defense has contributed for 39 tackles for a loss. You're second in the conference in sacks and have 2 players that are top 5 at the number 2 and 4 spot, and Terrell Oncolade and Kenny Dotson. The depth of the D-line, a big factor, but you have a lot of individuals that are playing out of their mind right now.
You mentioned Kenny and Collade and those guys, and then you hadn't mentioned a lot of Sully Lesh, who's now he's the old veteran right there, but. And then Tevin Lawson. And, really happy for another young man on that front is Laz Ona, the senior. He is quietly having a really solid season. He's a force in the run game, and he's giving us some pressure in the pass rush game.
It was a 27-7 score at the half. The Colonels did not let up off the gas in half number 2. We'll take a look at what went down in those final 30 minutes from Beaumont, Texas, when we continue on with the Tim Rebowe Show, presented by Smoothie King. Colonel football back in Thibodaux for the next 2 weeks. They'll have Northwestern State Saturday night. It's a homecoming game, 6:30 p.m. at Manning Field. Nichols Back-to-back road games punctuated by a 41-point outburst against Lamar on Saturday. 41-14 is the final. It's 27-7 at the half. Really impressive first half performance, but the message to finish strong, something that your team certainly heeded at halftime.
Yeah, I think the guys went in the locker room and really knew we had a job to do in the second half. They didn't relax. You know, they wasn't all happy in the locker room. We knew what we wanted to do. And the message was really simple. Let's go out and play, you know, another 30 minutes of football and let's see where we stand at the end. We knew that they were getting the ball to start the second half. Defensively, we wanted to, you know, get 3 and out, get the offense the ball, and go down and score and really take control of the game. So those guys came out in the second half really ready to play.
It was a half dominated by defense. Lamar enters halftime with 170 yards of total offense, but as we take a quick look at what happened in the third and fourth quarter, 4 fingers in the air, you have to close strong. 30 yards of offense for the Cardinals in the final 2 quarters.
Yeah, you see a lot of pressure again up front. He had nowhere to go. We did a good job of tackling. I thought that was one of the big keys to the game. We improved our tackling over the week before, swarming, getting guys to the ball. Monty Martin right there doing a good job. I think we just shut down, you know, that's the goal every week, to shut down the things that they do best, and that's what we do. There's a kickoff team with great coverage. Guys make some plays, and there's the old veteran Toscani Figueroa getting in the mix, and he did a good job of running the offense.
He stays in bounds, and there are so many little moments like this when Toscani Figueroa came in the second half. Just a heads-up 6-year veteran, keep the clock working, and then get back into the end zone for the first time in 2 years, Toscani.
Yeah, I was happy for him. You know, we probably could have had 3 100-yard rushes. He had a couple runs we had called back, but he did a good job of running the offense for us.
You look for leaders when you are trying to build a program and to do it the right way, and to have somebody like Toscani Figueroa that broke his collarbone in that same stadium 2 years ago and had to sit out last year, fought to get 1 more year of eligibility back, a medical red shirt, and here he is closing out an important road win, continues to lead by example.
Yeah, and you know what? He is really the team player, because he's just say, hey, whatever I can do. If I'm not going to be the quarterback, I can be the receiver. I can be a running back. I'll be a kick returner. He just wants to be a big part of it. He's loving his last year. He's having a lot of fun.
You look at his box score 5 games into the season, and he's averaging 8.8 yards a carry.
With a couple of runs called back, you know, in a
75-yard run
right,
pulled back.
Right.
To see him doing this, what did you challenge him entering his final year, the kind of player that you thought he could be?
I don't think really I had to challenge him. I mean, it's all from him. He grew up in a coaching family, yeah, and he knows, and he's such a competitor, and he's such a winner. So it wasn't the stuff that we had to do. He just wants to win.
He's been kick returning. He's played a little wide receiver out of the slot. He's been a wildcat quarterback, a true quarterback. We've seen him as a running back. Have you ever coached a player that has been this multidimensional before?
No, he's doing a good job for us, and I know he can probably go on the other side of the ball and play a little defense if we needed him to.
Second half, really controlling the clock was the key, and time of possession has been a challenge through the first 4 games, but one-sided, and you almost hit 40 minutes of controlling the football in this game. 37 straight runs to close out the game. Lamar just could not get you off the field.
Yeah, you know, you don't go into the second half and say, hey, we want to run the football, obviously, but probably an easy game plan. The big boys up front will open up some holes. Didn't matter who was running the ball in the back end. I know this, a couple of the receivers are probably not happy when you don't attempt to throw the ball, but hey, the bottom line is us to get the win, get back on that bus, get home safe, then get ready for the next week.
We noted the impactful performance of the defensive line and how they controlled the line of scrimmage and their impact in this game. Your offensive line really challenged early to go for it on 4th down in their territory. They drag 6 Cardinals up the field and free up Forcade for a first down. You have 7 offensive linemen that have been in your rotation and continue to contribute.
I thought that was the whole key to the game, and probably collectively the best game we played this year up front with Ryan Hanley and starting at center. And, you got Chandler Arsenault and Eddie Houston at the tackles. And then when you look inside, you got Gleaton, Brian Hernandez, and P.J. Burkhalter, all those guys rotating in there. And I think that's where the game is won, and you know that on both sides of the ball.
A 27-point road victory. It marks the 4th biggest win in Nicholls history in Southland Conference play. It's a year removed from a 25-point victory at home against Lamar. Colonels turn their attention to Northwestern State and the real NSU challenge. We'll preview the Demons and the Colonels and also hear from Alan Pittman. He had a big 54-yard interception return for a touchdown. First time he's ever scored a touchdown in his entire life. This is the Tim Rebowe Show, presented to you by Smoothie King. 41-14 win for Nichols. Alan Pittman celebrating the first touchdown of his life on a 54-yard interception return for a score. When did you know it was going to be real and you were going to get in that end zone?
Terrell Unclyde had the sack. He was going down. He tried to throw up and make a play. Came right to me. I caught it, and then everybody blocked well. I took it to the crib.
When you have so many players contributing for such a big win, what does that say about this unit?
Oh, man, I love this defense. You know, we practice hard at practice 24/7. You know, if we catch a pick at practice, everybody's chasing, make sure they score a touchdown at practice, you know, and it transfers to the game. By yourself, you're weak, but as together, the team is strong, you know, so we all come together. And, you know, individually really not a problem on our team.
Second touchdown of the year for a Colonel defensive player off of an interception. Who's looked better, yours or Jonathan Lewis?
I had to get it to Jonathan.
Now, that's the ultimate team compliment. You just went and scored the first touchdown of your entire career, but you're going back to the Jonathan Lewis interception return.
Yeah, Jonathan came clutch moment in the game. I have to give to him.
Colonel football 3-2 on the year, 2-1 in conference after a 41-14 win at Lamar. First touchdown of Alan Pittman's career, and it comes on a 54-yard interception return for a score. Was a beautiful night in Beaumont, Texas for the Colonels as we welcome you back to the Tim Rebowe Show presented by Smoothie King. Your defensive players are getting pretty good at long interception returns.
Look, he said a couple things in that piece. It's really impressive when the guys are talking like that, talking about how the team and how strong we can be together. But he's right. They practice hard, and they practice that. And you practice those in interception drills, and we have a certain spot where we're supposed to run and what we're supposed to do. But look, he has been having a great year. He's one of the leaders of our defense. He's physical, but he does that every day in practice, so I'm really proud of him.
When you look at your scout team right now and you're trying to point to an example of a player who redshirted and then was ready the second that their follow-up season arrived, Alan Pittman, 2 years ago, a redshirt freshman. Last year, he leads your team in tackling as a freshman. Now as a redshirt sophomore, top 5 in the conference in tackles, and here he is getting interception returns for touchdowns.
I think that's important. We always try to say that message to him all the time, is that you go out every day, like that's your game. You know, if you're going to redshirt, when you practice, that's your game every day. You have to go do that. And the good ones take heed in that, and they work on that craft, and they work on their skills. They don't look at it as, hey, oh, I'm just on the scout team. They work hard at every day. He does it. I have a couple more who's doing that right now. And what happens is, too, if they do that every day and they show they can do that, and when something happens and we move them up to play and dress them out, and we've been having a couple of those guys. Devin Edinburgh is doing that right now. And you look at Pat Riley getting a shot to get in the game. Austin Dickerson, those guys practice hard. They get a chance to move up and get a chance to play on Saturday.
We always hear Coach Rybacke stressing the importance of being gap sound, fundamentally sound. Don't take risks that you don't need to. If Alan Pittman decides that he wants to go and get a sack at the end of this play and not stay sound, he doesn't get the interception return. But he trusts that Selly Lesh and Terrell Unclyde are going to force a bad pass and right place, right time.
Well, I mean, that's how you build it. You have to do your job. We talk about that first. You can't just go rogue and go doing whatever you want. But those guys do a tremendous job of feeding off of each other and doing that. But again, you see those guys pressuring the quarterback, and it makes it a little bit easier on the back end. Same thing happened for Darrell Adams. You know, we rolled out. He threw under pressure. Darrell made a great break on the ball, took it across field, took it up on the sidelines, and put the ball on the 2-yard line for the offense to score.
It would be so easy to short-circuit your mind after an interception and just lose focus. You're so excited. You have a pick. Okay, what now? This is 2 years in a row. You have been one of the best in the country at yards after an interception. What goes into understanding that you can still get more after the pick?
Well, it starts in practice, and we have a plan, and the defensive coaches do a great job of instilling that into our players. And it doesn't just happen. You don't just go out on the field and say, hey, oh, here's a fumble, here's a pick. You have to work it. You have to practice it, because look, they become the offensive players now once they get the ball in their hands, and the guys become blocking. So you always got to be careful. You work hard not to block in the back, or it's a big return not to block below the waist, because and securing the ball. I mean, that's another thing. You don't want to give it right back to them if you just got yourself a turnover. So we practice those things, and it's good to see it come and show up in the game.
Also helps that you can fire up some tape of your cornerbacks coach, who had 8 interceptions when Chris Thompson was playing for Nichols.
Yeah, and then I bet he did some special things with the ball in his hands also.
He said he never got into the end zone, so he's living vicariously through his players. 2 interception returns for a touchdown in 5 games, and Darrell Adams, this close 52-yard return. He came just short of the end zone, but at that point, game was won. Colonels improved to 3-2 with their win at Lamar. They'll look for their 4th win of the season. Northwestern State comes to town for the real NSU Challenge. We'll take a look back at last year's win in Natchitoches that the Colonels acquired, and then preview Saturday night's showdown in Thibodaux. This is the Tim Rebowe Show, presented to you by Smoothie King.
We gotta take one, yeah!
1, 2, 3.
It's fun to look back at what was a 31-14 victory, Nichols over Northwestern State last season. Northwestern State will come to town with a victory in the Southland Conference this season. Jay Thomas in his 5th year coaching Northwestern State, a game that was tied at halftime last year, but you score 17 unanswered in the second half, and really what was a turning point game that sparked you to a blowout win the next week at home against Lamar.
Look, those trophy games, those guys really get excited about it. We saw it our first year here when we had the game with Southeastern, and last year we wanted to get that trophy back to Nichols, to Thibodaux. Our guys there, you can see how excited they get in a piece. It's really important to them. We had that meeting today. We talked about it, at how a lot of guys don't know it, but it means a lot to a lot of people. And I know this, and from years from now, too, I told them when the next group's in here in another 10, 15, 20 years, that you're going to want to say, hey, we had that trophy. We kept it 2 years in a row. We kept it on our campus. Last year's game, it was 14-14 at half. I still thought we were really in control of the game, and then really just took it over in the second half. We ended up running the ball. C.J. Bates, we had some big plays, offensively. Some there he goes right there. Took the slant, went the distance. So I think it was a dominant performance, and again, it really, you hit it. It led us, some good things down the road.
A record-breaking performance by C.J. Bates last year, 2nd highest individual receiving performance by a Colonel receiver in the history of this program. He had 179 yards receiving. Hezekiah White, the first of what is now 3 interceptions for your middle linebacker.
Exactly. Next week he ended up getting another one, but they were just hitting on all cylinders. Again, Chase was doing a good job of taking what the defense was giving us, and they were playing off on C.J. He ended up busting a couple runs, and I thought defense stepped up in the second half and did a good job getting a shutout.
And now in 2017, you get to welcome Northwestern State to homecoming event. And considering what Manning Field has looked like for your first 2 home games, it's been 8,000 plus fans in the first 2 of the season. One can only imagine what Saturday night will look like.
Well, it's going to be good to get back home. We had a tough couple of weeks on the road. It takes a toll on you. The bus rides, and you're getting home at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. So I know these guys will be excited to sleep in their own bed on Friday night, play in front of a fantastic crowd. I know everybody's going to come out in full force. The weather's supposed to be really nice, as the game's going to be on TV. Also, so our guys get a little excited about playing them in front of television. So we're looking forward. A good Northwestern team, Bryant, coming into town. They're going to be hungry. They got beat last week pretty good, so they're going to be looking to knock us off.
We'll have a Cox Sports television broadcast for you on Saturday night. You can also listen to the game on ESPN Radio New Orleans, 6:30 kickoff from Manning Field, Colonels and Northwestern State. We'll do it again next week on the Tim Rebowe Show, presented by Smoothie King. My name is Bryant Johnson. Coach Tim Rebowe and the Colonels, they'll be back at home for the next 2 weeks before a bye in the 3rd week of October. Great to have Nichols back in South Louisiana for almost all of October. This is the Tim Rebowe Show, presented by Smoothie King. We'll do it again next week.